Welcome, friends. It's another episode with Aaron and Chris, Mindful CEO, coming at you.
What's
Aaron,
up? What's up? What's up? Hang on, I forgot to shut off my phone. Oh no, I didn't.
Aaron was counting us down. Three, two, one. You
Three,
did
two,
ever?
one.
Yeah, I count us down. Three, two, one. Everybody, if you didn't know that before I hit record.
There you
Three, two,
go.
one. Smile.
Smile. Here we
Say
are.
cheese.
Hi.
Say positive thinking.
Oh yeah, positive thinking. All right, yeah, that's where we're running today is
That's
the
our
downside
prompt.
of positive thinking and all the traps and the pitfalls and the mires and the bullshit that gets
Right.
collapsed with positive thinking or
Mm,
and
yeah. Yeah. It's kind of weird at first glance to hear the downside of positive thinking because you're gonna think I thought like, this is the whole thing, like the power of positive thinking, Norman Vincent Peale, like Abraham Hicks, like hold the right end of the stick, just keep thinking the good thoughts, feeling the good feelings. So how I know
yeah,
you wrote an article on Inman about something about that. I don't
yeah,
remember the title.
the problem with positive thinking no one talks about. I think that was
Okay,
the
yeah. So if you haven't read that, it's on Inman, go read it. But so posit a something here, a thought for us to explore.
Yeah, good. Well, I think the you said it in your setup statement, and I think it goes unlooked at.
Hmm.
It is, I thought the whole game was positive thinking.
Yeah, mindfulness, baby.
Mindfulness, baby. Like somehow, you see, that's right there. It's in the hidden, it's hidden in the assumption, or
Right.
there's an assumption hidden in that statement
Mm.
that positive thinking is better than negative thinking, that it's
Uh-huh.
better to be positive. You should be positive. Positive's the way to go. Negative is something to be avoided. That whole
Hmm.
world needs to be taken apart because if you don't take that apart, if
Yeah.
you just live like the game is positive thing, the game is to be positive, just think positive, good vibes, man. And
Hmm.
if you think that's the game, there's a problem in that because
Mm.
you have a hidden should
Mm, a
in
hidden
that.
should.
The hidden should, the shit
Hmm.
that's hidden behind a rock, right? And then the rock hits you in the fucking head. Um,
The hidden
because
should.
you're supposed to, so there's a good amount of shame, embarrassment, and guilt
Mm.
that shows up when you aren't thinking positive.
Sure.
Okay, well, then what do you do with all that? You can't, you see, the tendency is if you're supposed to be positive, then
Right.
what do you naturally have to do with that embarrassment, shame, and guilt?
Stuff it.
So you gotta stuff that shit, stuff it way down. Think positive. You can't think guilt is a negative. I can't think. I can't do that. That's bad if I do that. And you're just all
Right.
of that. So that do you get the texture of all that? The I like texture there, but
Yeah. I mean, I get the experience of stuffing. I'm a really good stuffer. I'm a half glass full. I'm a glass half full. I'm a glass half full guy. Rose-colored glasses, baby pie in the sky, Pollyanna, all the words we have for this phenomenon, right?
right. But it's a quagmire. Oh,
You're on fire with the words today.
on fire with the big words today, people. It is. It's a morass. Oh, I'm going from one to the other. Bam, bam.
Dropping beats, baby. Let's go.
It's a morass of it's a trap for bullshit because you're
Mm.
now this is where toxic positivity comes from. This is the that world in which we're all good. How's it going? All good.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
you're not dealing with you're really upset about this thing and you can't express your upset because that would be negative. And that's where the whole thing of magical thinking came in for me when I was writing the article. Um,
Mm.
I used to have this orientation towards negative thought, like, well, if I give space for those negative thoughts, it's magically going to trash my life. Like
Mm.
magical thinking works both ways. Like there's magical thinking, like I am going to just wish this to happen. I'm just going to wish that
All right.
whatever my partner finally start picking up their socks, or
Right.
beat my wife, be on time, right? Like magical thinking. Like it's just not
Yeah.
gonna fucking happen. That's not, no,
Right.
right.
Right. Or
Not,
superstitious the other way, like if I step on a crack, I break my mother's back, right? Like,
yeah. There's an interesting tangent to go down. Like we do have, but we do have this thought about jinxing things. Like I don't want to
uh
say something good is about to happen because I'm afraid I'm going to jinx it, right?
yeah. But isn't that magical thinking
Total
in the
magical thinking. It's
reverse?
100% magical thinking. It's
Yeah.
100% magical thinking. But we do think that, right? That's not, no one's listening going jinxing. I've never heard of that. No,
Right. Right.
that's super common and super
Uh,
normal to not want to jinx something, so you don't say good news before it happens.
right.
Um, but it's interesting that there's no reverse of that.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Don't say happy things or
Or go ahead and say happy things because it's going to happen.
because
That
it's
makes
going to
it
happen.
happen.
Right. Right.
It's
Right. Yeah.
anti-jinxing it
Right.
to create it, right?
Right.
There's
Right.
no, it would be as magical to think that my saying it is likely to produce the result as it is my not saying it is going to produce the result. I mean, in fact, it's a little bit crazy given our fundamental background of,
It's hard to wrap my head around, dude, because uh, I have programming that says your words create your world. That
yeah. So it looks like saying it would actually make it happen.
right? Isn't that the premise behind
It totally, you're
manifestation?
way more likely to have it happen, but it's like, I don't want to jinx it, so I'm not going to say that good thing, which is fucking crazy because we do have, so there's, okay, good. So there's that thing about your words create your world, right? That we do live, that the power of words is
Right.
often diminished because most people live like words describe
Mm,
everything
mm,
and don't have any real facility with having
mm.
their noticing where their words are creating. Because whether they notice it or not,
Yeah.
there are things that words simply do not describe. So
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
example is there's a wall right here. You can hear that, right?
No, but
You can't hear
I
that?
believe
Okay,
you.
I'm,
I
I'm
believe you.
banging on the wall. Okay, so
Yeah.
there's a wall here. And no matter what my words say about it, if I try and walk through it,
Yeah.
it's going to hurt,
Right.
right? I can't say it's a door
Right.
and walk through it. My words can only describe that thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
But then there's a whole nother set of phenomena that only exist in language. That wall doesn't exist in language. I could call it a door, I could call it a floor,
Sure.
I could call it a cat, but it would hurt if I tried to walk through it
Yeah.
because my words only describe the thing. We happen to have aligned on wall as the word that
Right.
describes something you cannot walk through.
Yeah.
But there are things that exist only in language
Hmm.
that don't exist until that don't have any that don't have any way to be communicated other than language. That wall will communicate itself if I move
Mm.
close enough to it. Language or not, if I try to move through it, I will hurt myself.
Hmm. Yeah.
Even if I never called it anything.
Yeah.
Okay. It lives in physical reality. But then there's things like love,
Mm.
friendship,
Mm.
kindness,
Yeah.
anger
Mhm.
that
Mm.
that exist only in language. That's a language phenomenon. I mean,
Mm.
there's a physical sensation with it, but until I give it a word,
Yeah.
it's just a physical sensation.
Hmm. Yeah.
And
I'm with
the word for excitement and the word for fear describe two different experiences that physiologically are identical.
Hmm. Wow.
But one creates one world and one creates another world. But physiologically, they're the same, but so there's a world in which language creates the world. Yeah, that's a very quick primer on that
Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
phenomena.
Yeah. Hmm.
So by saying this good thing is going to happen, right? You're still not creating a world. You're still predicting a future, right?
Mm.
But does saying that give you maybe new actions to take and creates a future for you that to live into that somehow impacts you as more inspiring? Yeah, sure. But if we say it's going to jinx it,
Yeah.
we live like it's going to jinx it. Like I can't talk about the good shit, right? But we
Mm.
also don't have the negative of jinxing it, like complaining, right? Like I want, like complaining about it is going to make it go away. Whatever the
Right.
opposite of it jinxing, right? Don't talk about the good things because that's going to make it not happen. Talk about the bad things because that's going to stop it from happening. We don't have it like that,
Right.
right? We don't have like, I'm going to talk about these bad things and it'll not happen.
Right. Right.
Um,
Huh.
so we're just funny, and that's all sort of magical thinking, like, oh, I'm going to my somehow my I could jinx things is a complete
Right.
magical
Yeah.
phenomenon, right? Um, oh, I just had a thought race through another cottywomple. Um, it's gone.
I mean, I feel like if we were moving into that's a good distinction of magical thinking. And then there's positive thinking and the downside of positive
Oh yeah,
thinking. Can we transition to that a little bit?
yeah, sure. Well, so positive thinking, if it so it, part of my not wanting to have negative thinking in my life, like I can't complain, I can't deal with this
Yeah.
uh, experience of negativity in my life. I should suppress it. I should just think positive thoughts. All that kind of stuff was a function of, well, if I give voice to those negative things, they're going to happen. Like magical thinking, like, oh,
Right.
I can't.
Right.
So magically, that's going to happen. And from a law of attraction standpoint, there's the conversation for, having negative vibrations will attract more negative shit in your life, which is
Right.
fine. But I'm not. I don't even argue that. I'm not even arguing against that. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
not. I'm not here to say that that's not the case, because I do think it's the case. I
Yeah.
mean, I have a, but suppressing the negative thought doesn't make it go away.
Right.
Does it? You can't layer icing on
Yeah.
shit
Mud.
and
Yeah.
call it a pie, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you could, but it would still just be icing hiding mud.
Yeah.
Um, so then what is the deal? So if you take the should out of it, then you get to just be with all of it. See,
Mm.
there's a space between positive and negative that nobody talks about.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
And we've talked about this
We,
before. That's the space of neutrality, like in
right.
between the two spaces, having room for both spaces,
Mm.
acknowledging that both spaces exist in any moment,
Right.
right? That there's always the two ends of the stick.
Right.
And if you can acknowledge that there's two ends of the stick, you can then freely choose which end you're going to walk toward, right? You can then
Yeah.
get, okay, well, the negative is actually here. And actually tomorrow's meditation, when this is out there, it won't be anymore, but you can get it
Yeah.
on the Insight Timer, is gratitude when you have an attitude. One of the hardest things for people is, how do I feel grateful when I'm upset?
Mm. Hmm.
What do I do with all that upset energy? What do I do with all that
Right.
anger or disappointment or fear? Or, and
Right.
the downside of positive thinking is you can't positive your way out of that.
Mm. Hmm.
You can't get enough. What was his name? Smalley. I'm good enough.
Stuart Smalley.
Stuart Smalley. You can't Stuart Smalley your way out of that. You can't. I'm good enough. I'm
Uh-huh.
smart enough.
Smart enough.
Gosh darn it, people like me enough out of dealing with, you know what?
Yeah.
I have this fear. And if you can just acknowledge the fear, if you really can just learn to sit, not feet, what stokes the fire of it is resisting it, right? Resistance
Yeah.
causes persistence. You and I are both fully in that
Yeah.
ontological law of the universe that whatever you resist persists.
Uh-huh.
So if you resist the fear, which is what happens in positive thinking a lot of
Right.
much of the time. Okay, not all, like I said, positive is, I would choose positive over negative, but I could only there are times when you can only get there from neutrality,
Yeah.
not by suppressing the negative.
Yeah, because you think in the beginning, if what you think is, oh, positive's good, negative's bad, then that's the resistance. Because then I'm doing positive thinking so that I don't have the bad.
Right.
And you've now created a polarity. You've now created a villain. You've made the bad a villain, and so you're only willing to be positive. And in the willing to be positive, there's this part of your life you avoid. I don't want to look at that. I don't want to deal with that. And that's where it becomes, I think, the toxic positivity part. It's like you're not willing to address or acknowledge all the parts. And by the way, that doesn't even help you live a full life because you can't acknowledge all your parts. You're in judgment of all the parts that aren't positive.
Right. Some of the parts. Right.
Some of the
And
parts.
that's my wife was talking to me about this, about the word for that in the communities in which she engages is spiritual bypass.
Mm,
Is that's pretending everything's fine without having done the work to deal
mm,
with whatever you're not dealing with.
yeah. Wow.
Like, I'm
It's
all
good.
good. It's all good. Like, I forgave them, but you didn't do any of the healing work that was required, right? Like,
Right.
you got to, there's whatever there is in terms of trauma or upset or disappointment or,
Yeah. Yeah.
that's sitting
Right.
with you.
It was, I think it was 2 episodes ago, and we had talked about gratitude from the neck down. And I hear that here, right? Where it's like, um, positivity from the neck down. Like there's a I'm positively thinking, but I'm not somatically feeling the
Ooh,
positivity I'm thinking. I'm
yeah,
just saying stuff that's positive, but under the surface, from the neck down, I'm feeling fear, dread, guilt, shame. So my
yeah,
mind is saying one thing, but my lived experience is actually experiencing something else.
yeah. That's really good. And there's all sorts of different modalities to handle that somatic experience, right? Because I mean, I find it's funny because it's mindfulness.
Mhm.
It, it
Right, right.
it leads you to think it's about the mind, but really
Bodyfulness.
it
Yeah.
is. Well, it's mind. It's paying attention, right? You're using your mind to pay attention to your body, to
Mm,
your experience.
mm, yeah.
And but my wife is an EFT practitioner, and she does that, and that's one way to do it.
That's
Um,
tapping, right? EFT is
tapping,
tapping.
he's tapping. We've had guests that do other things, right? We've had guests on the show that do other things. I was talking to a coach, an old coach of mine, and I forget he's got some Hawaiian modality,
Huh.
Hono, I think it's called, that he says disappears those things. And I was
Yeah.
cool. I've never done that. That's interesting,
Mm,
let's check it out. Um, So there's all sorts of different modalities to deal, to go through those spaces. I mean, on one hand, I suppose that's what psychotherapy and,
sure.
you know,
Yeah.
is for, is to handle all that. Um,
Mm,
I have found mindfulness to be a really simple, easy, cheap, reliable way for me. But it's, point is,
yeah.
you got to find yours
Mm,
because you can't think your way into a positive orient. You're ne- it's just not going to happen that you are going to have a default positive orientation to life about everything.
right.
You're just not. That's not the way human beings are designed. We're threat seeking machines. We
Yeah.
are designed to seek out and survive potential threats. We're always on the lookout for threats. It's
Right.
always that way. I mean, that's whatever, however long our, history is as a species.
Right.
Why we've survived is because we seek and survive threats. So you're always going to be looking for what's wrong.
Yeah. Well, I think, I mean, um, I'm hearing that part of the form or the advanced course where it's like what you're given by, what is giving you your experience. Like, and
What's the concern?
if you can't beat, what's that?
What's the concern in the background that's giving you your experience?
Yeah. And so if you are not mindful of, if you can't observe or notice the shame, the guilt, the stuff that's running in the background, that is giving you your experience of hustle, grind, people pleasing, no, not setting boundaries, all the things you're trying to do to stay positive. while at the same time not paying attention to the stuff under the surface that's giving you the experience called people pleasing, or giving you the experience called I just got to put a smile on today. That my experience of that behavior is I emotionally run my battery down until Chris explodes. Like I bottle till I explode. That's my that's how I do it.
I don't think that's unique, right? I mean, you're
Yeah.
unique, but that's a fairly standard
Yep.
way of doing it. And the key, I mean, for me, one of the why this isn't for me. I apologize. It's not for me. This is why mindfulness works. And in general, whether or not you have it work for you is another thing. But um, because you are examining that guilt or that anger or that
Yep.
upset without judgment.
Right.
And that's the trick, or that's a trick of it, or one of the things people find difficult, because in the world of positive thinking is good, that guilt is bad.
Right.
You've got a judgment on it,
Mm-hmm. Right.
and and you're pretending the judgment is like that wall, like it
Right. It's
is
not there.
bad,
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
right? No, no, that's one of those things that only lives in language. It's neither bad nor good, but our
Mhm.
thinking makes it so.
Right.
It's the way it is. This is the feeling that it's not even guilt. You don't even really feel guilt or anger. In reality, you don't feel guilt or anger. You feel a particular way.
Right. Physiologically, you don't feel.
Physiologically, you
Yeah.
feel some way. You have some combination of
Right.
chemical and electrical impulses in the body,
Right.
and you label those
Yeah.
guilt.
Yeah.
But there's the same thing. This is excitement, fear thing. You
Yeah.
label one excitement, you label the other fear, but it's physiologically the same. So it's based on the context of the experience.
Yeah.
And it's the opportunity is found in slowing down
Hmm.
long enough to sit with the experience and notice what it actually is in the body without a label.
Yeah. So then, what is? Can you? It feels like we've kind of built this up good now. So the downside of positive thinking is what? What is the downside of positive thinking?
Well, you'll think it's good. The downside of positive thinking is you will think positive thinking is good. Like the wall is there and positive thinking is good, which automatically comes with this world where negative thinking and all the things you put in the negative bucket are bad,
Yeah.
which then leads to this entire relationship to I those things are bad
Yeah.
and those things are good. I should only go in the good direction versus
Yeah.
these things are neither good nor bad,
Yeah.
except my thinking makes them
Yeah.
so.
Right. Which then, if I bring it back to the reveal or the prestige, right? Let's do the prestige now, right? We now putting that all in the context of a CEO, um, and production and performance and KPIs. That when you have the judgment, this is good, that's bad, it limits your view of strategy. It limits your view of what's possible to implement, because because there's a whole bunch of stuff you're not willing to look at
Yeah,
because it's not positive. You
yeah, and not only that, but it limits your effectiveness because
hmm.
here's the prestige after the prestige.
Yeah.
This is behind the curtain prestige
Yeah.
because you've abdicated responsibility for the entire thing.
Yes.
You've said that is good and that is bad without you being the person that said it's good or bad,
Ooh, that's the real prestige.
right? Like you're not even in that equation.
Hmm.
You've got no responsibility in that. That's good, that's bad. I don't even have to be in the room and that's bad and that's good. No, 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 no. That that's not real at all. You just made that up and left the room.
Could you say, I always latch on to your premise, right, about agency, right? But because I feel like you could say, based on this conversation, that you really don't have agency. You don't have a say in your life if it's good or bad, because you're not being responsible for.
You're
what's
not.
good and what's bad. It's external to you, like a wall. You're like,
That is good. Positive thinking is good. No, 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 no. Who said it's good?
hmm,
Did you? If you're the one who said that's the expression of agency,
hmm,
that's what agency sounds like. Is I say that's good, and I said
yeah,
that's bad, and I said that, which puts me in the middle. Like, okay, I am now the arbiter of what's good or bad in my own life, which you really are. Takes all the shit out of it.
yeah,
There's no more should in that. There's just me, and that's a more pleasant experience than that. And I'm going to go towards pleasure. I'm going to go towards joy and leave guilt over there. But guilt's not bad. Guilt is just there. There may be a lesson in there to learn. There may be a communication to be delivered. There may be something to be let go
hmm,
of. There may be
right,
some relationship to complete. There may,
hmm,
who knows what goodies lie in there. But if it is bad, well, fuck it. I can't do anything about it. It's just bad. My mom's just a jerk, and my dad was just this way. The business just sucks, and I can't talk about any of that because I can't do anything about that stuff, and that's just the way
oh,
that is. And da da
ooh,
da. And you don't want to hear it, and I can't talk about it, and fuck it. But it's still a weight that I carry because it is the way it is.
yeah,
Versus,
right,
okay,
right,
the way it is the way it is, and I'm the one who's saying it's a problem. So the problem with positive thinking is it unless you do the work,
yeah,
right? Unless unless you avoid a spiritual
yeah,
bypass, as my wife would say, unless you do the work
yeah,
and that work. I mean, the meditation tomorrow when I do gratitude when you have an attitude is 10 or 15 minutes. We're not talking about like, going to an ashram and I mean, if you have trauma and something really
right,
traumatic, you need to do other work. But for the normal day-to-day trials and tribulations, 10 to 15 minutes of sitting a day should open up enough of a space for you to be able to. I mean, it's hard to get better than Shakespeare. Start getting yourself to the source of nothing. Nothing is either good nor bad, but our thinking make it so. It's Hamlet, by the way. Um,
hmm,
And if you can get that, then positive thinking is not a problem. Then positive thinking is, okay, I said it's positive thinking. Good. So I'm going to go in that direction. And I have total agency in that.
yeah, right, right,
I don't, when someone says, how are things all good? Okay, that's all good is, I don't really want to get into it. Right.
yeah,
But it's not pretending everything, and whatever.
yeah,
So, you know,
yeah, yeah, right. I feel like there's an opportunity for another word besides positive thinking. Like, is there a different way you would describe that based on, let's say I am neutral and I choose my thoughts and I'm
yeah.
like, I'm choosing this. Would I call that like,
Well, I mean, the downside of positive thinking is sort of a catchy title for the episode because it's,
yeah,
because it's already a box for positive thinking. I mean, I don't, almost you could call it, Larry. Doesn't really matter what you
Larry
call it. You're
thinking?
Larry thinking. You're calling it because you're creating it. So call it what you want, but
Call it what you want. Yeah.
you know what it is. You know
Yes.
you've done that work. You know that you're choosing that. And I haven't put any attention or thinking about n naming it something distinct from what
Sure.
normally passes for positive thinking. I think
Yeah. I get
I
it.
think mostly is uh, it could be interesting to work out. Now, here's the tangential thought I had. Okay, if we're going to leave this for a moment, um, I do have the experience of magic happening in life, you know, and I love that. So I just don't want there to be some negative connotation towards magic. I love having magic show up. I mean, on one hand, I guess we could do a whole different episode about this too, but it's all fucking magic, right? Like Einstein
Yeah.
said,
Yeah.
you can either two ways to live, like nothing's a miracle or everything's a miracle.
Right.
Um,
Right.
and if I'm going to choose one of those two, I'm going to choose everything's a miracle. Um, which means it's
Yeah.
all magic. And really, on one hand, you were a cell that divided.
Yep.
Okay. If
Crazy.
you're listening to this, you were a cell that divided
Mm-hmm.
and kept dividing and is still dividing to this day.
Mm-hmm.
That is half your mother and half your father, and it is mutate.
Yeah.
You're gonna tell me, you are a bag of electricity and water. Uh, you know, listening to a podcast. Do not tell
Listening
me
to a
you don't believe
podcast.
in magic. I mean, just don't tell me you don't believe in magic. You're a skin
That's
bag
great.
of
Yeah.
water and
Yeah.
electricity, and you're listening to a podcast. That's fucking magic. I don't know.
Yeah. That's
You
great.
whatever. It's all fucking magic.
Yeah.
But so I don't mind magical thinking because it's all magic, right? But the thing I was thinking about in terms of magical thinking, particularly that I have found to be true, and I have no direct explanation for it, but I have uh, my own personal anecdotal evidence for this, and it's 100% how I live because I've proved it enough to myself.
Right.
And that is, if I think I'm going to be late somewhere, as soon as I have the thought, oh, I don't think I'm going to make it on time. And I call whoever that I said I would go be with
Yeah.
and tell them that I think I'm going to be late.
Yeah.
I wind up on time.
Hmm.
I mean, it's got to be 90+%.
Huh. Wow.
It's the weirdest thing, and I always attribute it to integrity and being in communication and, the magic and of that whole of just being in communication. That's how where I put that magic, or the source of that magic is on my version of the version of integrity that I empower, the definition of integrity that I empower is, if you're not going to part of it is, if you're not going to do something, you tell everyone that is impacted by you're not doing it as soon as you know you're not doing it, so that they can start to be responsible for what's not getting done.
Yeah.
um
Hmm.
But I have found that, and I don't have any other word for it but magic. It's like freaking magic, but it really
Wow.
happens all the time. Um,
Wow.
I'd love someone else to take it on and see what happens. Uh,
Hmm.
at any rate, so there's magical. My point was, there is magic out there. I mean, on one hand, obviously, skin bags, listening to a podcast is magic. There's that kind of magic. Um, and then there's the magic that Carl Sagan has argued that you only remember the dreams that come true.
Hmm.
So it looks like your dream came true,
Hmm.
like,
Hmm.
oh, I predicted that. No, you only remember. So there's a level at which things may get attributed to something that's, correlated but not caused,
Sure.
you know.
Sure.
Um, but I think it's an interesting and fun conversation. And I think, the magical thinking, I was personally out to disappear was, if I even have a negative thought, it's going to bring more negativity into my life. So I
Mm.
better not have negative thoughts.
Right.
That was the magical thinking that I really wanted to sort of attack in the article, and in doing this particular thinking. That was the magical thinking I wanted
Yeah.
to eliminate.
I think what I'm walking away with, like what I hear in this, we haven't talked about it yet here, but there is I feel like part of what sets this whole thing in motion, positive is good, negative is bad, is a bunch of would you water and electricity in a bag? What'd you call it
In a skin bag.
in a skin bag? There's a bunch of us trying to figure out what's the right way to do it. Like, will you tell me what's right? What's the way I should live my life? And you say, well, you should positive thinking. Complaining equals a garbage magnet, and your words create your world. And so I go, oh, so what you're saying is this is how I should do it. And so then
Right.
we live our lives trying to follow the dogma of positive thinking, never owning it. All we ever do is we're trying to guess at what somebody else said is the path to success, and so we blindly accept it, and as a result, we also then blindly accept the opposite of that, and we can never get to ownership. We never get to agency because we haven't gotten to neutral.
Well, you haven't started with ownership. You haven't
Right.
started with,
Right.
you can't get to ownership. You got to start with ownership. Ownership isn't a destination. It's the beginning. I'm going to live,
Right.
and then if you to underline what you were pointing to, Chris, it starts with just getting present, which is
Yeah.
without
Yeah.
judgment, which is
Yeah.
neutral. You start a car in neutral. You don't start a car in park. You don't start a car in, I mean, okay, if I'm old enough to have driven a standard. You, um, but you don't start the car in drive.
Right.
You don't start the car in reverse. You start the car in neutral.
Yeah.
And that's the opportunity of mindfulness, in my view, is that it's a consistent opportunity to bring yourself back to neutral so you can choose forward or reverse. So you can choose which way to go, which from neutrality, you would have to be the owner to move.
Right. That's great. I love that.
You
Yeah.
can't move out of neutrality and not be the owner, because if there's a should there, you're not in neutral.
That's
If
good.
you're in neutral, you'll notice the should arise and be like, oh, look, there's a should.
Yeah. Writing that one down. That's a good one.
Hmm.
If there's a should there, you're not neutral. Mm,
I'll
that's
take
good,
that.
man. That's a good litmus test. That's a little good like pop quiz in your life. Just check in and be like, feels like there's a should here.
Yeah, that means you're okay, good. So right there in the noticing of it feels like there's a should,
Mm,
you're in neutral. The
hmm.
moment you notice it,
Mm,
that's the
hmm.
thing about meditation that people resist. That's maddening, right? I have a new title chapter coming called Why You Won't Fucking Meditate. It is they think their mind wanders too much.
Right.
No, no, no. The moment you notice your mind wandering, that's the wind. The
Mhm.
moment you get, it feels like there should be a should. Do you know where your mind is? It's right in the present. You're noticing what's happening right now in the moment.
Mm,
You're noticing the should. And then you can just go, okay, well, you don't even have to really give a shit where the should came from. You could just go, okay, there feels like there's a should here.
mm-hmm.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
what now?
Yeah.
If you just give that brief pause around noticing and celebrating, because that noticing is coming back to the present.
Mm, mm-hmm.
Mostly we don't notice the should. It's
Right.
just there, like it was there in the beginning of the episode regarding
Yeah.
mindfulness. Yeah, cool. All right, a lot of juicy stuff.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, man. All right. Well, let's wrap it there.
Let's wrap it there. I think that was good, juicy stuff.
Yeah. If you guys want to leave a review, we'd love that. Hey, why don't you leave us a review? Hey,
Hey, why
leave us a
don't you leave
review.
us a review? You should leave us a review,
You should leave us a review and a
and
positive
it
one.
and it should be a positive one. It should be a 5 star. It should be a fucking 6 star. Figure it out. That'd be
Figure
great.
it out. Take some ownership. Yeah.
Um, and then for those of you that are going to be, if there's anyone listening that's going to EXPCon, my real estate brokerage convention, I'm speaking.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Congrats.
the mindset. There's a better you mindset panel. I'm moderating a mindset panel. Yeah, that's
Can't
right.
wait to hear about that.
It's awesome. I met with the panelists yesterday, and they're just spectacular people. It's going to be the best panel at
Love
the
that.
entire conference for sure. Um, so if you're down in Miami and you're in real estate, or if you're in real estate and I don't even know if this will come out before. Oh yeah,
When
this is
is the date of that?
October. My panel's on the 31st, 30th,
Okay. Cool.
30th. Yeah, because I fly home on the 31st. Um, yeah, Wednesday the
Oh,
30th. And
cool.
at EXPCon in Miami, we could see you there. Otherwise, subscribe, like, share. Let us know what questions you got. We're always available for you. And namaste, motherfuckers.
See ya.